All right, everyone. In this video, we're going to convert a Nintex for SharePoint form to a Power App. We'll also convert some data. This form's going to have some repeating sections in it, so you get a good idea what the full capability is here. So again, pretty straightforward form, employment application. It's got two repeating sections. Because it has repeating sections, the way Nintex stores that, it's just a bunch of XML fragments that are either in hidden list item property, or if you've associated that repeating section with a multi-line text field, the XML data will be stored there. Either way, not consumable inside of a Power App, so we're going to have to extract that data and write it out to some additional child lists, so then we can use it in repeating sections and inside of the Power App. Again, pretty straightforward form. We're going to do this with the new Kudzu desktop. We have a cloud version of the tooling as well. First thing you do, come in here and you create a workspace. Then you can add items to that workspace, and you can, upload them from the file system. If you have them, sit on a file share somewhere, you can point at an on-prem or M365 based SharePoint instance. I'm going to go ahead and connect to a SharePoint 2016 instance and grab those forms. Just click add, and it's going to scan. It's going to find some forms. It found 9 forms. We'll go ahead and read them all in. Only takes a few seconds, and this will also generate some metrics as well. So you can see these are all easy to basic forms. Nothing terribly difficult about them. Some of them got, more fields than others. Some of them have repeating sections. This is the employment application. You can kind of give it a quick preview. This is uniform. This is, our description. You can see all the fields are there. Drop downs are populated. You've got repeating sections, again, with drop-downs populated. You've got attachments field. So everything's there. We can go ahead and write that out as Power App. Again, it's going to create multiple lists here. So let's go ahead and pick. We're going to not only convert the form, but we're going to move it to M365 SharePoint tenant. Don't have any lists. We'll create a new one. We'll call this Employment Apps. Click go, and you'll see here it's creating the main list. Now it's going to create 2 child lists, one for education history, one for employment. We'll go ahead and copy this form location. First thing we can do here is come over to our Power Apps maker, import that MS app file. There's the file we just created. This is going to be read. We can't add the SharePoint connection to the app definition because it's first party, and we're obviously not first party. So yeah, it's a manual step you have to do post-conversion. And it talks about that in the What's New section. In the tooling. So when this app comes up, it's going to be a lot of red X's, and you can see all the red X's. The app checker is not happy, but you simply come over here to data, connectors, SharePoint. Then you pick the site. There are the 3 lists we just created. And if I flip back over to the tool real quick, it's instructing you to add those 3 manually. So come back over here, add those, all the red X's will go away, and the app checker is now very happy. And, this app's ready to go, so I can run this. I can, put in my name, and I can fill some of this out. Michigan. Can add repeating sections. We'll say School of Hard Knocks. We'll just save that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this part of it. Exit out of that. I can then go over to the actual site here where we created the new lists. Here are the 3 lists that it created: employment apps, education, and employment. Here's the information I just added. Didn't fill out the whole thing, obviously, but you can see that the data is there. Here's the education entry. And if I show hide, there's the ID that ties it back to the parent. So when you load up that Power App, if you were going to take this now, wire it up into a Power Automate flow, pass in the primary ID, and it would not only load up the employment apps list item, but it would pull in any available child items from the education and employment lists as well. So read the form in, converted to a Power App. It created 3 lists. We're able to run the Power App and update the SharePoint list. Now I can actually convert the data. So go back here one more time and just close this for a second so you can see the list. So I've got 4 entries in here. Rob, Rocco, Roxy, and Mike. Rocco, Roxy, and Mike are dog, dog, cat. So do the conversion of the data here. There's the source from the 2016 site. Here's the destination in M365. And let's go ahead and run this. Should only take a few seconds. And then we can flip back over to M365. Go back to the apps. And there are the converted data. So it brought over the data. It'll bring over, if there's attachments, this one has attachment, my resume on it. So it brought that over as well. And then you can go look at the child entries and see those are there as well. So it brought over whatever it found. Some of them are blank. We can see it brought over all the data. So we took the form, Nintex for SharePoint 2016 form was a responsive form. We also support classic forms, and we can even extract task forms from a workflow definition. So you could upload a workflow definition, and it'll pull all of the forms out of the workflow definition, and then it'll save those as just screens, separate screens in the Power App. We read that in, converted it to a Power App, and converted and migrated the data, and did it all in a few minutes. Would have been faster without all the talking and everything else, but pretty quick, pretty easy, pretty low effort. You don't have to write any code. Obviously this would be quite a bit more difficult if you did it manually. Could you easily recreate that Nintex form as Power App? Sure. But then you also have to create the SharePoint lists to support that form. And then you also are going to have to write code. There's no way around it. You're going to have to write code to move the data, because you're going to have to extract those XML fragments from the SharePoint list items in the source and migrate them to the destination. One thing we didn't cover in this, but available, is also PDF archiving. So even in scenarios where somebody says, we don't need existing data in the destination platform, from a records management retention standpoint, we do need to have some kind of PDF archive of the original form. So you're going to have to do that XML, that translation and moving of the XML in either scenario. So something to keep in mind as you look at replacing an InfoPath or Nintex with a modern automation platform. Thank you. Hope this was helpful. Please reach out if you have any questions. sales@kudzusoftware.com.